Hello and welcome to my second sermon from here at the church, the Sacred Space Church here near Nelsonville. It is now Sunday, April 7th of 2019. Now, 2 days ago, on April 5th, my grandmother's funeral occurred near Circleville. My mom flew in from Florida, and my brother and his wife and my three nieces flew in from California, and my dad was there as well. He was staying in Columbus. He also stays with my mom. They're still together, of course, in Florida, but sometimes he stays in Columbus. And we had a pleasant funeral. She was 106 years old, so it did feel like she had a very full life. I, of course, do wish she could have been older. I would like to live to be a lot older myself. But the funeral, the weather was perfect, the rain cleared, and it just felt like her spirit was there. And I spent a lot of time with my grandmother and my grandfather growing up. They had a 250-acre farm that they purchased shortly after the Great Depression. And she was the eldest of 12 who grew up during the Great Depression, and two of her brothers died fighting the Nazis in Germany. They were the best of the family. They were the best of our country. They were the pilots fighting bombers who got shot down near Germany. And she was an amazing person. A naturalist. She loved bird feeders, planted countless numbers of trees. Some of my first memories were planting trees and doing soil erosion projects. She worked for the Soil and Water Conservation Department for the state of Ohio. And I often carpooled from Columbus, where she worked with my mom, to spend the weekend at the farm and go fishing. That's where I really learned fishing. She had 5 farm ponds. They designed their farm very well so that it would avoid soil erosion. And that's one of the reasons Big Darby Creek, which runs through the property, a mile of it, is the cleanest river in Ohio. It's got more than 100 species of fish and lots of endangered species. And I spent a lot of time down at the creek. And I caught enormous numbers of fish. And her ponds stocked their freezers, my parents' freezers. And also I drove them to Florida, where they had a home, and back every year for decades and decades. And spent a week in Florida at the time and filled their freezers with fish from Florida too. But unfortunately, there's an enormous amount of pollution between fracking, the red tide in Florida, which is increased by runoff, and Lake Erie getting an algae bloom largely because of climate change, and also runoff from agriculture waste, mostly fertilizers. And we need to increase the number of ponds in our state and around our country, just like my grandmother did. The ponds catch the runoff of soil so it doesn't go downstream. It doesn't cause up pollution, and it can be harvested back as topsoil for farmlands in the future. It also holds back the fertilizers and other pollutants and keeps them from getting in the waterway, and of course it also grows fish. So we need to greatly increase the number of ponds. We've destroyed about 99% of the original wetlands in Ohio, and that's one of the reasons our state is in such dire trouble environmentally. Now, with my grandmother, here is a quote from the Bible, Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. He will wipe away every tear from their eye, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. And I do hope people get the lesson from my grandmother that we do need to stop soil erosion, we do need to create more ponds, and everyone will benefit. It will create a living wage job for tens of millions of people if we create enough of these ponds around our country that can eliminate famine and drought and flooding, because these ponds also, of course, retain water during flooded times and keep it from flooding downstream. And it will reduce pollution. Here's a quote from our Bible about pollution. Numbers chapter 35, verse 33, "You shall not pollute the land in which you live." And we can create an enormous quality of life as well while we catch fish, and fish is one of the very healthiest of all foods. It's probably one of the reasons my grandmother lived to be 106. Her mom lived to be 104. Matthew chapter 4, verse 19, "And he said to them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Now, I hope everyone has a great week. I will give another sermon next Sunday, and let's start to turn downspouts into ponds and get our government to make some too.